Hello and welcome to Ticket to Life. I am Henrie and I'm so glad that you are here. The reason I'm laughing is when I first started, I had to go back and start all over because I had like this gunky stuff in my throat. And I'm sure that's what you wanted to hear first thing when you heard this podcast. But anyway, welcome to Ticket to Life. I am Henrie. And if you are new to Ticket to Life, I will give you a heads up that I talk about anything and everything except politics. I may throw in some funny things about politics, but I don't have time for that stuff. Otherwise, I'm just me. I may make a wisecrack every so often, but I won't shy away from any topic because I expect any other topics. I mean, if you ask me what's going on in the world, I can tell you a little bit about what's going on in the world. My news is my husband. He keeps me updated. And if there's something he just knows I don't want to hear, he won't tell me. So, and I hear it later and I'm like, why didn't you tell me? But anyway, this is Henrie and thank you so much for listening. But I just also want to tell you, you can hear Ticket to Life on any platform, podcast platform, also on WDJY Radio 99.1 FM in Metro Atlanta Thursday, every 7 a.m. Eastern Time. And I do have a disclaimer, and that is that I am not a doctor, a life coach, a therapist, and I'm just me. And these are all my thoughts and my opinions and stories that I share. Are true. I changed the names to Protect the Innocent because, someone probably told me something a long time ago and I'm not going to say, oh yeah, and throw them under the bus. I'm not going to do that. So if you want to share a story, now you're terrified. But if you would like to share a story that's something you think might impact someone's life, send me an email at tickettolive022@gmail.com and you can either send me your story or you can be on my podcast and we can do an interview. But anyway, let me give you a heads up that in October, Ticket to Life will be having a giveaway. And you can hear about the details next week here on the podcast and in the Metro Atlanta, Georgia area on 99.1 FM WDJY. It's exciting. They asked, hey, let's do a giveaway. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So anyway, be listening and I'll explain everything next week. And then hopefully you might win something from Ticket to Life. So my question to you is exactly the title of this is when was the last time you ... When was the last time you ever told someone that is in your life how thankful you are that they are part of your life? Now, many of us are so thankful for others, family and friends and coworkers. And sometimes we take for granted that they're always going to be there. But guess what? We are not promised tomorrow. And it is important to let others know how you feel about them. It's very important to tell people how thankful you are to have them in your life. Now, if you're saying, oh, they already know how I feel, and if you were to ask them, do you know how I feel? They'd probably go, what do you mean? Would you just do you know how I feel about you being in my life? And they'd probably go, yeah, I guess. But do they really? Again, we think that those special people in our lives know. And if they do, that's great. But just think of how you would feel if someone told you how thankful they are to have you in their life. When and if you do, they will be so humble. And most people go, oh, I know. But inside, trust me, it will make them feel so grateful that you are in their life. I haven't told you, my listeners, well, I do tell you, but I like to tell you I'm grateful that I have this podcast. I'm so grateful because I get to put my thoughts out there, which are kind of scary for some. But some people really have reached out and told me, thank you. This is a really good podcast. You get these little texts or emails and people are appreciative. And I don't think I'm doing anything but speaking and telling you how my thoughts on certain things. But I am Henrie, and I am so grateful to share my time with you. And I cannot thank you enough for allowing me into your life. And I know I've said it in the past, but I do appreciate my listeners. I mean, I do have listeners just about, in every continent. I do, even if it's just one download. I appreciate that person that thought, oh, my son said, how did they find you? I said, I have no idea. I have no idea. But so when was the last time you said that to someone you cared for? It could be a family member. It could be a friend. And you think, oh, that's dumb. I mean, if you don't want to say it out loud, write them a card, not an email, not a text. It is so much more personal when it's verbal or if it's handwritten. I know a lot of people don't write as much as we used to. So my next one is, when was the last time you got down on your knees and thanked God? Now, I know I have not some non-believers out there, and that's fine too. You can fast forward this part. But when was the last time? I know some of us can't get on our knees because of pain, because, the older we get, some of us have problems with our knees. But if you could, would you? When was the last time you thanked God for your life? And not just asked Him to help you in time of need. Sometimes that's the only time some of us think to pray and talk to God, is when we need something. Or something isn't going our way. But we forget to thank Him when things do go our way. And I'm not just saying, oh, well, thank God that happened. I mean, really thank Him from your heart. Now, sometimes we get angry. And just getting angry for not answering that special prayer request that you have asked for Him continuously. And you talk to Him when you're angry, and that's okay. He gets it. That's one of your many ways of expressing yourself. We get angry, and that's okay. I think when we get angry, that we need to know it's okay. But if we get angry at someone, or if we get angry at God, you really need to ask for forgiveness. Because sometimes we may not agree with what somebody believes, and we may not, and that's okay too. But instead of being violent or getting angry with the world and hating people, get down on your knees. Ask God to guide you. But always ask for forgiveness, because your prayer may not be answered, and you haven't even seen the results right away. And it might be answered in a week, a day, a year. And then you might just get that aha moment. And then think back, what if you had asked for did come your way? And realize that's why it didn't happen, because this was waiting for me. And that's when you get down on your knees and thank God. Oh, I don't have time to get down on my knees. I'm so busy with my kids. Trust me, if you have time to get on Facebook, TikTok, X, Instagram, you have time to get down on your knees and just say thank you. Now, when was the last time that you played with your kids outside? Or allowed your kids to play outside? Did you play outside when you were a child? I think that we have put the fear into our child that they shouldn't be outside because they could be snatched up. Now, I'm not saying that this couldn't happen, because we hear about it all the time. But as we all know, that is possible, and that is sad. But our kids need to be outside. They need to be able to run and yell and have friends and play. Now, I will tell you, if you want to be outside with your kids, do it. I know, here we go again. We don't have the time. Again, if you have time to be on your phone and be on TikTok, social media, any type of social media, then you have time to be outside with your kids. Some people may have to teach their kids how to play. And that's sad. And they, when we grew up, yes, we were outside. We had things to do, and I could see them. My kids would go outside. And I could see them. And my neighbor and I would always take turns sitting outside when the kids were out playing. I was usually reading or looking at a magazine, so I'm not sure if I was really watching them, but I was out there. I remember just enjoying sitting outside. And of course, that was when there was no technology, no cell phones. And we made sure to have a phone in the garage just in case someone called or we needed to call 911. There were a total of 6 kids, including my kids. Out of those 6 kids, my daughter was the only girl. And the boys would always let her play. And it was okay for her to be out there with them. Playing in the street. They played hockey and on rollerblades and, yelling car. And the car was approaching, shooting hoops, playing foursquare, softball, hide and seek. Oh, those were really good times. And they were really good memories. My husband actually played with my son until high school. When I say play, they would toss the ball until the shoulder kind of gave out. But my husband would spend time out there when he was home from work. I mean, he made that effort to have that connection with him. So I feel as though instead of thinking or instead of scaring our kids, we just need to teach them to be street smart and always know their surroundings. That's not just for adults. Don't talk to strangers. Don't go to someone's van to see the puppies or the Labubu's they want to give you. I'm not sure why, but you don't really hear much about stranger danger anymore. Who does that? Are we always with our kids? If you're always keeping an eye on them? No. So when was the last time you sent your kids outside? And I know, I just think that we are not talking to our kids about being safe anymore. Other than say, be careful, bye, have a good day at school. Why are we not talking to our kids about being safe, but instead sheltering them to stay inside with video games, cell phones, and TV? I'm not sure. I know I'm showing my age in this. I know. But studies do show that kids being able to play outside have many physical benefits. It helps them to develop social skills and playing together, and teaches the kids to learn important social skills that might help them later, like figuring out when you get mad because somebody ran a base and you said it was safe and they said no, it was something like that. I don't know. Here are some benefits for the kids. These are what I found on good old Google. So I Google it. And it was physical fitness, which helps them to be healthy. It reduces stress. You know how much anxiety kids have nowadays? So it reduces stress, and we know that kids are suffering from so much more stress and anxiety than yesteryear. I mean, they still had it, but I don't know or maybe it's just more pronounced now. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But it does help with confidence when they're out. And I mean, I'm not saying send them out in the middle of the night. Let them come home, do their homework, and then let them go run around if you're not having to take them here and there and everywhere. But we all need to spend time in the sunlight too. We as adults need that for our health. And as long as we don't overdo it, being outside also helps us with problem solving. Like I said, figuring the kids give the ability to think about things. It helps with the concentration. Yeah, for the kids who are lacking in focusing and adults. Heck, we just need to go outside and do this for our sanity. Now, if you're in a job that requires you to sit behind a desk and you get agitated just being there all day, they said, well, don't look at your screen. You need to get up every hour and walk around. Well, sometimes you just get so involved in your work, you don't think to get up. Do you know how many lunches I skipped because I was too involved in my work? And you would never guess I skipped lunch. But anyway, think of what we are doing to our kids. Literally, our kids are in school. which is, of course, yes, I'm all about education, but they're at school learning and sitting all day long, just like you. Let kids be kids again without all that technology. Now, I did find a interesting fact that kidnapping is statistically very rare in the U.S. Now, it does happen, especially abductions by strangers, which is what we fear. I fear that. I fear that because you hear about it. You always hear about it. But if you look at the stats, it's very rare. It does happen again. But the majority of children who go missing are runaways. And by that, I mean teens, usually young teens. They're runaways. And they've met someone online. These abductions do occur, like I said, but perpetrators, sometimes family members or an acquaintance, not a stranger. Talk to your kids about this. No, they don't need to know about this. Yes, they do need to know about this. So anyway, when was the last time you talked to your kids about stranger danger? In the state of Texas, kids are required to have at least 30 minutes of physical activity. That means that they are in school for 7 hours and they get 30 minutes for recess or PE. Now, if you have some creative teachers, they will be smart, very creative, and take their lesson outside and let the kids be outside sitting on the grass. Unless that's not allowed anymore. That's just so smart. I remember when I worked with the school district, that's what some teachers would do. They would do a lesson outside. And kids are going to get hyped up being outside because they're not used to being out there. Now, I know. Classroom is very important. It is very important. I know I went from one thing to another because that's how my brain works. So anyway, go play with your kids and let them be kids outside. And you know what? Keep them in your eyesight. Comfort. Sometimes I would be in my kitchen and we weren't in this house, but they'd be playing. But if I could see them, I was fine. If I didn't hear them, I'd go out and check on them. But my kids did. And it wasn't because we were a law enforcement family. They just knew, just like I knew growing up. So one more time, when was the last time you looked around at your home and realized how blessed you are? That you have a roof over your head, food on the table, and people that love you. If you are at home and listening, look around right now. Or even if you're at your place of business and shouldn't be listening to a podcast, look around. You have a job. We should be thankful. And if you feel as though you don't have a lot, look around. Do you have clothes on your back? Do you have kids that love you? Parents that love you? Oh, if you still have your parents, that's something to be very thankful for. I'm pretty sure that you have more than a homeless adult and children have on the street. So let's rethink when we want more. Remember, when we buy things that we just love, let's say, of course, people love money. We need money. People love jewelry, diamonds, clothes. Just remember, you love these things, but those things cannot love you back. They are things. They're things we need. Well, I don't need the diamonds or the jewelry, but they are things that we need. So just remember, they cannot love you back. And you have more and more things than people out on the streets have. Okay, I have to admit, a lot of stuff is going on in the world, and we could, I'll just take a deep breath. If we could just right now take a deep breath and say, peace, be still. That means God's in control. And even though we question why these things that happen in the world, it's out of our control. Yeah, we can go protest, but some people don't know what a peaceful protest is. They go out there all angry. So again, take a deep breath. Peace is still. So, if you have anything to add to when was the last time? There's a lot of things I could mention. When was the last time I just sat down and read a good book? Well, actually, I read a lot of good books, but some people don't. When was the last time I just sat down with my significant other and relaxed and watched a movie? When was the last time that you told someone dear to you that you love them? Because we do take that for granted. We take that for granted with our spouses, with our family, with our kids, with our friends. But we don't have to take it for granted. We can just say it. Because things like that are important. I don't mean to be morbid or anything, but how many times have you heard someone say, my friend passed away and I didn't get to tell them I love them and how much they meant to me? It happens. It does happen quite often with family and friends, coworkers, people you see every day, neighbors. So anyway, just think about when was the last time when you were young, there was something you just really loved to do. When was the last time you did it? Take that deep breath. Peace, be still. Isn't that funny how something simple like that can make you feel better? It is. At least I think it is. Now, last week or 2 weeks ago, I did start a new little thing. I'm trying to keep up with it. And it's Shame on You. Not sure if people liked last week's Shame on You, but I'm just saying shame on you. And now you have to go listen to the podcast if you want to hear it. You can fast forward. It's at the end. But anyway, this week, Shame on You goes to anyone and everyone who has said something negative about the death of Charlie Kirk. Now, I'm not getting political. I'm just saying, shame on you. I actually didn't know who he was or anything about him. Now, my kids did, and I have friends in their 40s and near 50, and they knew who he was. And once I found out and looked up who he was, what he did, I thought, wow. I mean, he spoke what was on his mind. And I just want people to remember one very important thing. When someone is killed like that, they are someone's son, someone's brother, someone's friend, someone's sister, someone's daughter, someone's father, someone's husband. When a man or woman are killed, he was assassinated. When they are killed like that, you gotta get that anger. You don't even know this person, and people are just like saying horrible things. I didn't know him, but yet I do know that he was a husband and a father. And I do know that he had children. No one deserves to die like that. Or like Irena Zuraska. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. On the train in Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, she was just on the train looking at her phone, minding her own business, not talking to anyone, not ranting and raving, just sitting there minding her own business. Now, what do I say to this? We have to pray for their families. Why? Because we are the ones left behind. I always say that. So may they rest in peace in heaven as we are left behind, and hopefully learn and teach our kids how to be kind. We need to learn to be kind. Again, we do not have to agree with anything and everything that I say, that your coworker says, that your family says. But why let that let that anger build up and cause friction in a relationship? Yeah, well, then you should be able to let people know what you feel without anger. And you can disagree with what people think, and that's okay, but do it without anger. I tell you, society, so many people are just angry now, and I have no idea why. Again, we should be thankful for everything we have, and a lot of people are having a problem with being thankful. They have a problem with living day to day. Is there any peaceful country? I don't think so. That's why I pray for peace. That's why we should all pray for peace. But again, it is time for all good things to come to an end. And I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. And I do hope that I just make yourself to sit and think sometimes and think about when was the last time you did something such as pray or play with your kids or send your kids out to play outside or told someone how thankful and how much you love them. And let people know that they are important to you in your life. Well, you just need to do it. That's all I got to say. Just do it. And no, this isn't a Nike commercial. You just need to do it. Something like that. Just something so simple as playing with your kids or telling someone how important they are to you. You have no idea how far that's going to go. Because again, I know I don't know all you listeners, but I am very thankful for you. And I'm so thankful that you are part of my life. So until next week, this is Henrie. And please, please, please go find your blessings. I will be praying for you. I will be praying for our country. I'll be praying for so many things. The list goes on. I just hope that God doesn't get tired of hearing from me. But anyway, take care of yourself. Love the ones you are around and let them know how important they are. Until next week, this is Henrie. Thank you again for listening. Go find your blessings.